Hey.
As you know, Britt Baker is the new AEW Women's Champion, and this is simple here, really. Whenever we get a new title holder, we tend to like the fantasy book what they should do. So that being said, Britt Baker, new champion. What's going on? Because I actually watched Dynamite from last week today, and any thoughts of her turning to babyface got crushed immediately.
Well, of course.
I know he saw that. She was still
like
fucking.
the whole reason her act is over is because of how she acts. Like why would you turn that? Like, in order for her to become a babyface, you'd have to take away from her the things that people actually like.
Right. But yeah, she still is very much a heel. Very much. Not even a tweener. It's just still a heel. Yes. It looks like right now that Nyla Rose might be the next in line based on what we saw at the celebration. But I don't know. Maybe not. We'll see what happens as weeks to come. But let's book this. Britt Baker, how long should she have the title for? Who should she face? Who's the rising talent that can, get over in this couple months or year or whatever it may be?
Mike, you want to go first? You look like you want to go first.
No, I will, but I'm very pained by what I just read. So
what happened?
So in round 3 of the MLW Open Draft, they announced that they were bringing in Savio Vega.
Get the fuck out of here. Serious?
I mean, you want me to send you the fucking article?
No, I believe you. This is kind of like weird.
I didn't realize he was still alive.
What was that, Joe?
I didn't realize he was still alive. I'm just being honest.
Oh, Joe, you do know that what this means, right?
That he's going to be there?
In 3 months, we're going to get a Savio Vega versus Davey Richards feud for
Right.
I'm
here for it.
Who can kick the hardest? That's what the feud's going to be.
Yes.
What the fuck are we doing?
Savio's there no matter what, man.
I read that and I became instantly pained. I was like, oh my God, what are we doing?
I mean, could they just not track down Steve Blackman? Like, what the fuck? Like,
hold on. They got like 4 more rounds. We might get Steve before.
Is he still alive?
Why is there an MLW draft happening?
Because they're dumb. I don't know.
But who's drafting? There's one company.
This is what I never understood about the whole thing. They're drafting for their own new roster. I don't even know what the fuck is going on. It's the dumbest thing ever. Okay, back to
Rick, DMD.
Now that I've lost my mind.
DDS.
All right. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. I would... Obviously, she's going to be the champion for a long time. I don't think that I would rush to take the title off of her. I don't think I'd rush to move in any other direction other than Dr. Britt Baker. Obviously, she's the first challenger is going to be Nyla, which she'll beat on Dynamite. Leading into All Out, I could if there's still a working relationship between Impact and AEW at that time, which I don't know if that's actually going to be a thing. I could see it being maybe her versus Deonna Purrazzo, champion versus champion kind of thing, and then something fluky, double count out, double disqualification, whatever. But you get a good wrestling match between the two of them. They're friends. They could have a good wrestling match. I could see potentially a debuting Chelsea Green, maybe even like Alana being fed to Britt. Then it starts to get interesting because then where do you go from there? You have All Out coming, or I have All Out already booked. Then you have Revolution and Full Gear and all that. Is Thunder Rosa going to come back, or are we going to get the final soiree in that one? Are we going to get a third and decisive match there? Obviously, Tay Conti's still there. She's pretty good in ring. Anna Jay's going to come back from her shoulder injury. Join the Dark Order.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see Anna eventually get the title. Maybe not from Britt, obviously, because I think this title reign is going to be one that's going to at least get us through December. I don't think she's touching Sheeta's record. I don't think she holds it 367 days or whatever it is. I can see 180-ish unless she gets hurt or something crazy. I would eventually have her drop the belt, either to Thunder Rosa if you can get her on an contract, or this is your opportunity to do something crazy and give it to someone like Big Swole. Swole.
Love Swole.
I know you do.
Big Swole is my favorite WNBA player. You be nice.
I mean, I live Pop Joe, so I mean, it's cool. No, I think that this. I think, like I said, I think this one's going to be one where Britt's going to hold it probably through the end of the year. I mean, I could see her dropping it at like Revolution in February, potentially to. I'm like, Tay Conti's the name that keeps coming back into my head. So does Thunder Rosa. Unless this is like, hey, we're going to build up a whole new women's division. You know, bring in like Allison Kay or something like that. Because I don't know who's out there right now, free agent wise, that you're rushing to bring in, unless it's Ruby.
I would love to see, and not necessarily have her win the title or anything, but like a couple of matches with Serena Deeb. I bet Brittany and Serena could have some amazing matches.
I agree. I can see that. I can see her having good matches even with Rio.
Yes.
I personally, the end point for me is January, and it's eventual title loss to the aforementioned Heidi Lovelace, aka Ruby Riott.
Where does like Jade Cargill fall in? I was just going to ask you that. Is it any one roster?
I had to report back to the New York Sparks. I think they need to forward for the rest of the year. I don't know.
Fair.
She does nothing for me in ring. Like, she doesn't. And putting her with like this cheesy attorney dude, he's worse than fucking any manager WWE has right now. But again,
he's really good.
Previous argument. Everybody in AEW has a manager.
Right.
I mean, literally at this point, if you can name me 5 wrestlers that don't have a valet, a coach, or a manager, I would be fucking utterly surprised.
Yeah.
So I'm of the mindset right now that I think I would have her drop it probably like January, February to Heidi and get through there, because I don't unless Britt turns face in the middle of this run, Jade Cargill will never be a face.
No, correct. I agree.
No, she's definitely a heel.
I mean, and Britt doesn't need to be a face for the next 4 months. She can be cheered. Can be cheered as a heel and call all of us stupid for
exactly.
I mean, it works for her character. All I'm saying is, in ring perspective, the name that I just keep coming back to is Heidi, because I think it makes the most sense.
Where do you stand on Red Velvet? She's better in ring than Jade is. That's for sure.
I disagree with that completely.
You think Jade's better than Red Velvet in ring?
Yes, Red Velvet's very boring to me. Jade at least stands out.
I mean, Red Velvet stood out too. She hit that dive and almost broke her face.
Oh, that dive was scary.
Stand out.
You didn't say it had to be good or bad. I'm working with what you said.
All right. So wait, I've got the beginnings of storyline ideas.
Oh boy.
Okay. So I have an overall idea that's going to include Ruby Riott, but we're not there yet, because I figure she's probably got some sort of waiting period right now before she can get signed.
I think she's on the shelf until
September.
Probably like the first week of September.
Okay, cool. So before we get there, I obviously need Britt to do something storyline-wise. So I'm going to have her take the JBL 2005 gimmick, 2004, 2005 gimmick, and she's going to extract all of the Japanese female wrestlers from the AEW roster. She's going to make that her mission. And this gives her an excuse to get wins over Rio and another win over Shida. And we'll bring back in the fucking queen lady, whatever her name is, Freddie Mercury.
Emi Sakura?
Yes,
Freddie Mercury. She's been around a while. Well, this is a year.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, we'll get her back. And any other
Japanese portion of the women's tournament, you moron.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Who was that Japanese woman that won that tournament that like had a really good match with Shida, even though it was hard to care about it?
Yuki Sakazawa, I think, or something.
Yes, exactly.
Like a mentor.
Back, like all of them. We'll just have Britt Baker fucking beat the asses of all the Japanese women, because you know what? I bet Kenny Omega jerks off to that thought every night anyway. So let's just make it a reality.
I only co-sign this if at some point she grabs the microphone and she goes, "I am a wrestling god."
Yes. I think that's only fitting, to be perfectly honest. Okay. Then we get to a place where Ruby Riott can be brought in. And I think you bring Ruby in. Follow me here, okay? I swear to God, I'm not Vince Russo. You bring Ruby in as Britt Baker's younger, like, punk sister, who, like, is always just standing behind her. And I'm not even so sure that Ruby Riott's not, in fact, older than Britt Baker, but we're going to run with her being younger. And she comes in as her younger sister, and it's like she basically follows Britt everywhere, and Britt thinks that, like, that Ruby thinks that Britt's so cool and everything, but meanwhile behind her back, Ruby's always like, and making fun of her and making silly faces and stuff, and then like getting her into situations like signing contracts for matches and stuff, or like walking up to Nyla Rose and being like, "Oh, you think you can beat my sister? My sister says she can beat your ass. My sister said go meet her in the ring right now. My sister said it's gonna be for the title. My sister said you gonna go down." Like that's the whole Ruby Riott promo right there. And
fucking Joe.
It's gonna be black when she goes to AEW.
Yes.
Okay, just ask him. Just ask him. Just trying to follow along with the story. Please.
Yes.
She gonna do hood rat things with friends.
So Ruby then eventually gets to a place where she challenges her sister for the title, and her sister thinks that it's going to be like Finger Poke of Doom style, like she's just going to lay down for her. So she lays down, and she goes in, and then she puts her into a small package, and she gets 1, 2, 3, and Ruby Riott's the new champion.
You guys are right, though.
It's probably about November.
Where do you get your...
What?
Maine.
All right, I'm going to need you to send some of that shit down.
Real quick, you guys touch on that. It's very possible the person that ends up taking the title from Britt is on the roster currently, because I don't know. I honestly look at this roster right now. I don't know unless someone.
Hey, Marshall.
Say it again.
Are you thinking of QT Marshall?
No.
Dude, you really think Anthony Ogogo's going to win the women's title? That's amazing. I love that for him.
No, I'm with
ring. Your AEW Women's Champion. A go Power Rangers.
Oh Lord, he's doing the song. No, I really believe it's very possible that the person that wins the title, as Mike said, like in January, February next year, is not on the roster right now currently. I don't know.
They were on the roster.
I thought so too.
I just don't know who you dust off.
Don't gaslight me. You said on the roster.
I meant Rooster.
On the Rooster?
You said it was on the Terry Taylor.
Oh, the Red Rooster.
I didn't know Tully Blanchard was eligible to win the women's title in '67.
Well, you know, true story, as you go into your 60s, your penis goes back inside of your body. So.
The new women's Guerrero.
Oh, but only if she wins it. Only if she wins it with the Frog Splash from WrestleMania.
We've now turned Ernest's review of Britt Baker into a rolling joke.
Because honestly, it really is. We have this is something that we visit probably in September. Because I don't see anyone on this roster right now outside Sheena. And there's no way in hell you go back to that.
Do you like that they have her even going against Nyla? Because I kind of hate it.
I don't like it either. Because you know why? It's obvious what was going to happen.
Yeah.
It's obvious that she was always going to win no matter who she faced first.
Right.
Right. Well, yes, and that's a good thing. But I'm just saying, like, I have zero desire to see her fight Nyla again.
Right. I think it's the person's not on the roster. I think by September, October, we may see a completely different roster in the women's division.
I think you're out of your mind.
You don't think Tony Khan is fucking ham?
roster. Why would he turn it over?
I think it's a lack of talent in our roster more than anything else.
So wait, I have a question. Serena Deeb, is she an AEW talent or is she an NWA talent?
That's a good question.
Good Lord, that ball was crushed. Sorry, we were watching the home run in the Twins-Yankees game. Fucking Donaldson hit one to the fucking moon. What I'll say here is I don't think it's a lack of good wrestlers in the women's.
Oh wait, did you hear my question?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't.
That's what I figured, because you're the person who would know the answer.
Okay.
Or like you would do the research. Is Serena Deeb signed to AEW or is she an NWA talent?
Well, now that she dropped the NWA Women's title on Sunday to Camille, I think she's kind of like a rogue agent. She can kind of come and go as she wants, kind of thing. So I would expect to see her more in AEW now as not NWA title attached to her. Like, I don't think you're going to see Camille coming to.
No. Look, and in my opinion, in-ring talent-wise, Serena Deeb is probably one of the best female wrestlers on the planet right now. Granted, I don't watch a lot of Japanese female wrestling or anything, so maybe I'll speak more for North America from the stuff that I see with WWE and AEW and stuff. Serena Deeb, in-ring-wise, I get Bret Hart vibes from her.
No, I'm with you on that one. I agree.
In a good way, like the good Bret Hart vibes. So, like Bret Hart versus Hakushi vibes, like that level of Bret Hart vibes. So, I want to see more of her. And that's why I was saying before, like interrupting Mike's thing, that she would be a great person maybe to get a couple of matches out of against Britt, where Britt doesn't need to lose the belt to her, but you might get some legit like match of the night matches out of them. You could get like a Dynamite main event out of it, or like maybe there's your Rampage like first show main event. Britt Baker's got that level of over with the company and the fans to, I think, be able to be considered for that role.
Yeah.
Yeah. So back, I think trying to remember my train of thought. I just watched Nelson Cruz hit one out too to walk off against the Yankees. So you stopped me. I was getting ready to talk about. Oh, I don't think the women's division is that lack of depth as Ernest says.
I agree.
I think there's a couple of really good females that are not being used properly.
Name them.
Penelope Ford.
Agreed.
The Bunny, even though she shouldn't be the Bunny, she should just be Allie.
She's really good that way.
Chris Statlander, she's back healthy. We should really be fucking using her more. Even to an extent, Swole. And just a fifth one off the top of my head that you could probably use for almost anything you could use them to put over talent is probably.
I mean, Anna Jay's not bad when she gets back from injury.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to include her because she's hurt, but I mean,
right.
They used Tay properly while Anna was, so I can't use Tay in the who's being misused. But I mean, just the four that I ripped off without actually looking at their female roster, I think if you use them in a better ability, you could get things out of them. You know, NXT having 2 female matches on a takeover show, like we should be getting to the point where you have another mid-card women's match in AEW, and the problem is it's been Sheeta, Britt, Rio, Nyla, and then your outside availability of Serena Deeb. Like, you're not pushing a couple of the women that are on your roster that could be beneficial pieces for you. And lo and behold, you're going back to touring. I mean, we just talked about WWE having to fill the roster. AEW is going to have to get more out of everyone because you can't patrol Kenny Omega, the Bucks, Moxley, and Kingston out there every Wednesday night for the next 35 weeks and not expect one of them to get hurt.
Right.
You know, cutting a promo one week and wrestling the next week is okay, but you're going to have to fill that wrestling time with something. So why not fill it with building up Chris Statlander, building up Penelope Ford, building up Allie, building up Red Velvet, stuff like that. I mean, it's even if you use Red Velvet to get over talent on Dark and then lose meaningful matches to Penelope and Allie and all of them to build them up, and Anna when she comes back. I mean, you still got to have the gatekeeper to get to the next step. I mean, if you use it wisely, you can fix. I'm not going to say fix, but you can use this women's division that you have without having to go out and bring in 75 free agents.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right.
I mean, obviously, I want Ruby there. I'd love to see Allison Kay there. I'd love to see Marty Bell there. I'd love to see Solo Darling there. I'd love them to actually sign Ashley Vox and Delmi Exo, the Sea Stars. Like, that's just 6 random indie names that I listed off that if you put them with the core that they've been using night in and night out, I mean, you could have probably one of the best women's divisions in wrestling. But they've got to put the work in, and they've really got to stop shoving the same 3 people down our throat continuously. It's like, I love Britt Baker, but I need a mid-card women's feud to actually have someone building up to fight.
Yeah.